Next up, the guys are seeing red with an explosive myth.
You're gonna love this.
Why?
Because after 180 or so episodes, we finally found an excuse to use a rocket launcher.
Yes! What are we testing?
This one comes from the movie Red, Retired and Extremely Dangerous.
Okay, here's the scene. There's a standoff. Our hero has a revolver, and our villain has a rocket-propelled grenade.
They both fire, and the bullet and the RPG meet in midair. The bullet triggers the RPG, causing a huge explosion, killing the villain, and the hero walks away unscathed.
So that's 2 rocket-propelled grenade myths for the price of 1. Will a bullet trigger the warhead? And when it explodes, would it really be bye-bye Rocketeer, with only the bad gal going up in flames? So, where to start?
All right, 2 myths, 1 scene. Now, the first one is, can you set off a round from an RPG using a bullet?
Well, to begin with, I think we need to match both the gun and the rocket launcher from the movie. Then we point them at each other and fire. Simple, right?
Okay, besides being a logistical nightmare, you can't shoot a rocket launcher in California. But I know a place we can.
Luckily, the team have friends in high explosive places, so they head to the MythBusters Rocketeering HQ.
To test the myth of our RPG handgun face-off, we've come to one of our favorite places. New Mexico Tech sort of feels like a second home. Why do we love this place so much? Well, they have 40 square miles of testing facility where they have gun ranges and bomb sites. How can you get any better than that?
Well, by throwing in a license to fire these.
So for this myth, we have 3 questions we need to ask. 1, how does an RPG work? Which end does a rocket go in? 2, what happens when an RPG and a bullet meet midair? And 3, when they do meet and the explosion goes off, who survives?
And question 1, how does it work, calls for a little RPG 101 with John Merkel.
John, we've fired a lot of guns on the show, but never an RPG. Could you fill me in on the basic components?
Okay, this is the launcher. It's pretty simple. It's basically a bunch of metal tubes welded together, and this is the rocket. So when it fires, it kicks the RPG out of the tube, and partway to the target, the rocket motor lights and makes it accelerate.
And what actually causes the fuse to arm?
Setback. G-forces, when it comes out of the tube, it goes from 0 to 140 meters per second in about 6 milliseconds, so it's experiencing a lot of Gs.
Is this as dangerous as it looks?
Right now, no, because it's not armed. You have to fire it out of the launcher to arm it. That's when it gets really dangerous. But like any explosive, if you do something stupid with it, it can be very dangerous.
So, can we fire it?
Unfortunately, no, that's my job, but I will let you pick my target.
Okay, good, because we've got the perfect target for you.
This is ridiculous! Anybody wants to talk to me, I'll be in my trailer!
Eventually, Tory is coaxed out of his trailer because it's time for the practical demo of exactly how the RPG works.
All right, do you guys realize this is the first time in the history of MythBusters that we've ever shot an RPG?
All right, this is RPG versus trailer, just to see what it does.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's gone. The trailer is completely gone.
That was so fast.
That was so much more energetic than I thought.
That didn't look anything like you see in the movies.
No, it's like bang, bang. Let's check the wreckage.
Yeah, right.
Outside, they find a trail of RPG devastation. Or should that be an RPG devastated trailer?
Wow, that is a scary amount of destructive force right there.
Well, now we know how an RPG works.
Yep, they couldn't have asked for a better demonstration.
That was an incredible amount of devastation. That trailer didn't stand a chance. And the other thing is, it doesn't look like it does in the movies. In the movies, you see like a white plume. This is like bang, bang, and it was over.
And after looking at the high speed of the trailer, we noticed one thing. After the trailer exploded, we saw hot molten copper continue on and actually burn holes into the steel armor behind it. The reason being is because an RPG isn't like a typical grenade that has an explosive charge that throws shrapnel. It actually has an inverted copper cone that is surrounded by a shape charge. And when that hits the target, the charge goes off and it actually pushes that copper out into a hot molten slug of copper that burns through steel.
So not only is the RPG explosion nothing like the movie, it also throws forward a molten copper surprise, which doesn't bode well for the hero.
Now we need to see what happens when a bullet meets an RPG.
The hard part is gonna be getting those two to match up.
Let's get to work.
That was incredible.
KTG are taking on an RPG. And it's got nothing to do with role play. In this movie myth, the villain is taken out by their own rocket-propelled grenade, all because of a well-timed bullet.
Now, so far, we've seen what happens when an RPG hits a trailer. And it turns out it's not looking so good for the myth. Because once an RPG detonates, it fires a stream of molten copper through and beyond the target. But you know what? This is MythBusters. We can't give up here. What we want to look at next is what happens when a bullet meets an RPG. Can it even trigger?
Indeed, but getting a tiny bullet to hit the warhead on the head is tricky. Luckily, by joining forces with NMT, they've come up with a solution.
All right, Leonard, you built this system. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, this was actually designed, Tory, from friends of ours up in Huntsville, Alabama, Arctic, and they call it rocket on a rope.
So it's kind of like soap on a rope, but a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah, a lot more power.
More powerful and more deadly. And here's why.
Now, obviously, this isn't a real RPG. This is an inert one because we're not crazy. Right here is our launcher. It's a steel tube. The RPG will go into that. Right here is where our firing pin will be. Once that starts, pressure will build up inside this pipe and it'll push our rocket on the sled down these lines towards our gun.
That quick change in acceleration arms the warhead and it travels down this line, which is tensioned at 3,000 pounds, so it can handle the rocket and keep it on a level and straight path. When that sustainer motor kicks in, that's when we really start cooking.
Now, at some point along the line, the RPG will actually hit a tripwire that will activate our gun. Now, I know this doesn't look like the gun in the movie, but it does exactly the same thing. And the bullet, which is the same caliber as in the movie, will come firing out of here right into the tip of the RPG. And then we'll finally find out what happens when bullet meets RPG.
With their ingenious rocket on a rope rig primed and the gun loaded, it's time to hunker in the bunker.
Okay, RPG versus bullet.
Go for launch.
All right, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whoa!
Do you think maybe the bullet disabled it?
I don't know. High speed.
Let's go
check
look at the high
Check
speed.
the high speed.
It all happened in the blink of an eye. But it does seem like there was a trip up with the tripwire.
So is that a negative on the bullet?
No gunfire.
This is one of the most challenging myths to test.
We knew this was gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for our rocket on a rope, the misfire wasn't the only problem.
So our first test, we were not able to hit the RPG with the bullet. And there was a couple of reasons for that. One, the lines were not tight enough. So as the rocket came down the line, it was bouncing around. By the time it got to the bullet, it was actually out of line with the barrel of the gun. Not only that, the bullet didn't even fire. The trigger was not sensitive enough. So we've made some adjustments. We've put more tension on the line. That way that'll keep that rocket stable, and we have a more sensitive trigger. So that way by the time the rocket gets to the barrel, the gun will fire. And then finally we'll find out, will an RPG get set off by a bullet?
With the rig adjusted and a new warhead loaded, it's back underground for round 2.
I think it's time for another shot.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow, it definitely exploded. I don't know if it was because of the bullet.
Hard to tell.
Let's look at the high speed.
Oh, this is crazy.
Crazy with a capital C. And it looks like they've gotten bullet versus RPG success.
There's the tripwire.
Trigger
Bullet.
gun.
It works! The bullet can set up an RPG.
Dude, that's amazing.
All right, so that part of the myth is confirmed.
Amazing and confirmed, and all down to an incredible rig.
We are so impressed. This was such a feat of engineering. New Mexico Tech actually created a rig where the tip of an RPG could hit the tip of a bullet. That's like two pencil erasers coming at each other at 1,000 miles an hour. And the myth is starting to look pretty good here.
Now, to nail down who actually lives and who dies in this myth, we've got to do a few things. We've got to find out how fast the bullet travels, how fast the RPG travels, and then we can figure out where in the 80 feet between the good guy and the bad guy they would meet. So that means we need to get some bullets, we need to get some RPGs, and we can go shooting.
It may seem unlikely, but the team has proved that a bullet can trigger an RPG. Now, they need to know where in the air they would meet.
Ready to do some science?
Oh, you know I am.
Down at the gun range, first they need to find out the speed of the speeding bullet.
So what we are trying to find out is where between the two dueling shooters, the bullet and the RPG meet. Now, we've set up a scale 80 feet long, just like two 40-foot truck containers, like the scene in the movie. So what we're gonna do is shoot the gun and the RPG, measure how fast each of them are going, then we'll be able to calculate exactly what point the two meet and the explosion happens.
And just how far away that explosion is from the shooter and the Rocketeer.
So here's how the experiment's gonna work. We're gonna use the same gun they had in the movie, a Smith & Wesson 460. It has a muzzle velocity of 2,200 feet per second. We're gonna fire it through this piece of foil, which will start the timer. The bullet will hit this plate, firing the switch and stopping the timing sequence. We're gonna do it at 40 and 80 feet. And through that, we should be able to see where along the path the bullet and the RPG meet.
Keep going, stop.
So first up, Tory's packing the heat.
Dude, this thing's so big, it looks like a cartoon gun.
To find out the speed of the bullet at 40 feet.
All right, this is the speed of the bullet from 40 feet.
Good shot. Let's go see what you got.
All right, see how fast that went.
Pretty fast. 22 milliseconds to be precise.
It turns out from 40 feet away, it takes 22 milliseconds to hit the target. Now we're gonna move back to 80 feet and see how long it takes to hit the target.
Next, it's Grant's turn to turn on the firepower.
But I'm not gonna do this one standing up. I'm gonna do this one on a rest because not only am I not John Malkovich, but I'm not retired and I'm only moderately dangerous. Okay, this is timing the bullet from 80 feet. Are you ready?
Ready.
Got it.
See, you're not mildly dangerous. You're a bad man. All right, let's see how fast it took.
What do we got?
42 milliseconds.
Perfect.
That adds up.
All right.
After a hard day's shooting, the guys have the bullet speed. Now to the second part of the equation, the rocket-propelled grenade.
It's a good day to be a MythBuster.
Got that right.
So we know how fast the bullet flies. Now it's time for us to find out how fast the RPG goes. We're gonna take our RPG-7 launcher, set it up in the test stand, put our scales behind it, and plot the data points. And from that, we'll be able to find out where the bullet and the RPG are likely to meet.
And all that means is setting up the gauges just as before. But the wind has other ideas.
You know, whenever I'm in 60-mile-an-hour wind, I like to put up a big sail.
Whoa! Last time we went on a MythBusters road trip, we were in waist-deep snow and 60-mile-an-hour wind. We thought, that's our extreme weather for the year. This time, 60-mile-an-hour winds and blazing sunshine. Oh, our family vacations are crazy.
Finally, the wind dies down. The rocket is primed, and it's firing time.
Okay, here we are.
All right, now we can find out where the bullet and the rocket meet.
Okay, this is RPG speed test.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You see flash, boom.
Yeah, you can't see it traveling. You definitely need the high speed. Let's go do some calculations.
Cool. Yeah, let's do some math.
But before they get to the math, the power of the RPG has the team distracted.
Wow, it totally penetrated. It went all the way through.
That is crazy. That's like 3-inch armor plate.
Well, let's find out how fast it went.
All right.
All right, well, let's use multiple data points because there's 2 stages. We reached 20 feet in 43 milliseconds, 40 feet in 83.6 milliseconds, 60 feet at 125 milliseconds, and 80 feet at 161.3 milliseconds.
Okay, so if we flip this around, we see the bullet and the RPG meet at 64 feet. So that's 64 feet from the bullet firer and 16 feet from the RPG firer.
All right, so why don't we set off the RPG at that point between the 2 shooters and see which one of them survives.
If anybody.
In the deserts of New Mexico, it's time to test the survivability of this. But before they bring in the dummies, there's just one problem.
Oh, I lost my head.
Okay, John, so based on our data, if an RPG shooter and a gun shooter are 80 feet apart, the RPG and the bullet will meet at 16 feet in front of the RPG shooter. What do you think about this?
The biggest problem with that is that the RPG won't be armed at 16 feet. It takes a lot farther to get out. The RPG is just going to keep right on going like a really big bullet.
Yep, and that's all down to the 2 stages of the RPG's firing system. The first stage of ignition throws the grenade out of the launcher at around 384 feet per second. This sudden acceleration triggers stage 2, activating the rocket propulsion and arming the warhead. So unlike the movie, the rocket must be at least 60 feet from its target to arm.
So it looks like the myth is pretty much busted outright, but what if it were a fluke? How could we still look at this explosion?
We can do this by actually moving the target farther away from the RPG launcher to a range where it will actually be armed and positioning our dummies in the appropriate positions for the 2 individuals.
All right. Can I fire the RPG?
We'll see.
Yes!
Right, all is not lost. For the final parameter of survivability, they'll tweak the setup to simulate a faulty RPG. This time, the RPG will fire from 60 feet behind the stand-in Rocketeer.
I think we might have to increase our budget on mannequins. This is a pretty ugly woman.
Come here often?
And just like the movie, 16 feet in front of her is where the now armed warhead will trigger. But instead of a bullet,
Now this piece of acrylic is representing our bullet. Now we know once the RPG is armed, it doesn't take much to set it off.
and finally 64 feet from that is where a gun-toting dummy will be positioned.
Oh, wait a minute, you're John Malkovich. You don't get any hair.
And for the lethality of the blast, well, each dummy will have 2 gauges.
All right, what I have here is a large piece of pork belly. This is gonna act like our human flesh. That's good, I like that. It's a nice hat.
Firstly, the gory, low-tech version.
Oh, God, it smells so bad.
It's got muscle, it's got flesh, it's got fat. If the shrapnel goes through this and through the mannequin, we know that's a kill.
And second, the excitingly named high-tech version.
To measure the blast wave of the explosion, we're using this. It's a bikini gauge.
You know, when you said bikini gauge, I had something totally different in mind.
Now, the way it works is that we have foil spread over holes that represent different tolerances for the overpressure. When the foil bursts, that will indicate our number. Now, if this right here bursts, that's 20 to 25 PSI. That means that our shooters died from just the pressure wave.
With everything set,
Perfect.
let's count down to launch with a prediction.
Nothing ever happens like it does in the movies. I mean, our woman is only 16 feet away from the explosion site, and 64 feet is really not that far away when you see the destructive force of an RPG. I think everybody's dying.
Now, there's only one way to find out. They're bunkering down for the RPG survivability.
Okay, this is survivability test, RPG shooter versus bullet shooter.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That was intense.
Intense is right. Unsurprisingly, the RPG detonates and throws forward a shower of molten copper and debris. But did the dummies survive it?
I don't believe this. She's still alive. In the movie, she was totally decimated.
Yeah, and that goes along with what we've been seeing with these RPGs. I mean, they're not like regular grenades. It's very directional. But look at that. Our bikini gauges are still intact, which means she would have survived that blast wave.
Unlike the movie, the villain made it through. But more surprisingly, so did the good guy.
Oh my God, that is incredible. He did not get touched. I mean, he didn't get hit by one single bit. And look, our bikini gauge didn't get ruptured.
Yeah, he may have survived, but just by luck, there was a stream of molten copper coming straight at him. If he were 1 foot over, he'd be totally Swiss cheese.
Especially since in the movie, the warhead would not have been armed on contact with the bullet, but on contact with the gun-toting good guy.
Yeah, this is the exact opposite of what it was in the movie. He would likely have been killed, and she would likely have survived. It's busted.
Totally busted.
Hollywood, not being scientifically accurate again.
Huh. Look, I'll admit it, I was fooled by Hollywood, but here's why. Normally when we see an RPG hit something, there's a big flash and then that thing explodes. But in this case, the RPG exploded in mid-air. There was nothing to create any shrapnel. And the bullet, it didn't have very much mass, so there's nothing to stop that energy in its tracks. As a result, all the energy went forward exactly as it was designed to.
Well, that didn't suck. No, it didn't.
Another day of work for the MythBusters.